I told that
No,
motherfucker.
you did.
Popeye's biscuits, Church's biscuits aren't even in the same conversation.
No. Who is comparing Popeye's business to Church's biscuit?
Dumbass people.
Oh my gosh. I want some Popeyes.
Are they still killing motherfuckers over the sandwich?
I don't know, but I'll tell you this. I saw some coonery.
Oh no.
I don't know. You know, I'm not good with names, and I can't identify this person by their genitalia either. They was on my Twitter late at night. You already know where this is going. And like, you know, the pizza man porn.
Mm-hmm.
Well, these people done upgraded their coonery to Popeye's worker.
Popeye's porn?
Popeye's porn. He had a whole Popeye's uniform and everything. I know. He done set us back like, how many years you think?
The shit called Popeyes, and back in the day, it used to be Popeye. Then they kidnapped somebody's grandmother and just started making her slang Popeyes.
No. You know what was the worst? There was that restaurant I think it was, no, I don't know what city it was in, but the restaurant where people were raving about, it was white people, about their chicken that they were serving, just to find out that early in the goddamn morning, the lady was going over and getting pounds of Popeyes and probably air frying that shit, because you know Popeyes in the air fryer got to taste good, and serving it at
a restaurant?
at high quality restaurant prices. Yeah.
Holy shit.
So, yeah,
There's
Popeyes.
that.
Popeyes crimes are happening everywhere.
Yo, Popeye's got a whole crime wave associated with their food, yo.
Oh, wait, but this podcast is definitely not about Popeye.
Yeah, this is not sponsored by Popeye.
We are just some sleep-deprived parents
Word.
that are still sexy
Sexy as
and
fuck.
hot for
You
each
look
other.
So good.
You look good, too. I don't like this division of labor thing.
Apparently, it's good for podcasting because there's a camera with a back wall that I need to break.
I'm supposed to come on that camera.
Squirt all over that camera.
And what are we supposed to talk to that camera?
We got to double team that camera.
Okay, now, not only are we supposed to look at these cameras and look at each other, not touch each other, but touch the world.
Royal Fetish.
What are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about being black and poly.
Okay, you fit both of those descriptions.
Yes, I do.
I'm mixed.
How would you describe your relationship, sexual identity, I guess is the way to put it.
That's a good one. And it's funny because as you say that, I start fiddling with my ring.
Is that a tell?
It is a tell.
We'll look for that next time we play cards.
Oh, no, I don't wear no rings when I play cards.
Oh,
Bare bones. I'm going to come back to that. I just want to ask, where is Orlando? Orlando's right here. What is your relationship to today's topic so we know who is in the room? You're black and you're poly? Or you just black?
Yes, I'm black. I'm not poly. I'm not monogamous though.
Okay, cool. So my relationship, the identity part is really, really tough because I feel like if I pick an identity, both sexual and or relationship identity, then I have to like show up in a particular way. And this has always been my issue.
That makes sense.
Always has been even with race, because as a black Filipino Panamanian, I feel like, oh shit, like if I say one of those, then there's a certain expectation behind that. And then there's never a time where you're allowed to put them all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then the same thing when it comes to sexuality. I was talking to a woman who has an organization called Not Straight But Not Narrow, something like that, along those lines. And it's an organization that caters and supports Black bisexual women.
Okay.
Right. And I was like, oh, like, you know, like this would be cool just to sort of be around other queer Black women that are in business and influential. And then I'm like, oh, but, you know, can I consider myself bi? Like, I do gay shit, but like, I've never been in a relationship with a woman. And I'm like, well, that could have been a relationship. And so then I feel like I don't belong. And then the same thing with poly. Like, I'm in a relationship with a poly person. We do some poly things. I consider other poly relationships, but I haven't really been in a, like, I would say a successful, even if it didn't last a extended period of time, I don't really feel like I've been in a successful poly relationship on my end.
Mm-hmm.
So relationship identity, there's that part. I'm very monogamish, but like, I don't.
If we only grade in successful relationships, can't nobody really
Well,
like that cuts down the number of people who can say that they're anything for that matter.
well, no, when I
You know
say
what I mean?
successful, I don't mean that it's had to go the longevity or even what you thought it would be. Successful just means like it meets the criteria for, like, I've been in successful monogamous relationships. We both did the monogamous thing until we didn't want to do it anymore. Like, and we broke up, and that was successful. But from a poly standpoint, it's like yeah. So from a relationship standpoint, I would say that I still kind of feel very tied to being a sexual opportunist. Like, that's where I'm the most open and fluid.
I feel like you should also always rock with that because you're the first person who said it, and I bet you there's gonna be a whole
There are already.
group of people that try to use that shit.
They will, and they'll coin it, and they'll make workshops and classes and T-shirts with it, and and they will still be monogamish at heart. But so anyways, that is sort of my. I don't feel challenged by it. I feel like I live my life. I do what feels comfortable to me. I interact with the people that feel comfortable with me, and if our like chemistry or permit sexually or intimately, then I will allow it regardless of if I have a label or not.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a hard question to just answer flat out. How about for you?
Dig it. I am poly as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Black.
Yeah.
But I think for me, lately, it's like poly has become like one of those words that everybody just kind of wants to use to throw around. Like, there's a group of people who are out there that are just, cheating on everybody and trying to use poly as an excuse for being like a serial cheater or just an asshole. And then there's other people who try to use poly because they suck at relationships in general.
Yeah.
So they want to kind of be like a serial dater or, bounce from person to person. And other people just think it sounds cool and don't do the kind of work that's necessary to actually be a good polyamorous lover.
See, I don't want to be any of those people. That's so horrible.
No, I mean, I'm not like trying to drop hints on you.
No. I'm thinking like that's why it's so difficult to try to own that.
I do think it's like one of those things where it's like now you also get people who just want to kind of like monogamy is, and then just bash monogamy and have something else just to say like this the wave right now. You know what I mean? But I have literally been poly before I knew there was a name for that shit. Like, I was open to with my ex from high school, who I've actually spoken to recently, just got married. Shout out to Saida. Congratulations. When we were dating, we were both kind of like, you into that? You into that person? Oh, do you? You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that the shit was perfect. We were still really young, experimenting with these things, but we didn't have a name for it.
Right.
And then when I started dating through, like my 20s and shit like that, I would always run into the women that was on some like, I'm bisexual, and then I'm into this, I'm into that. I'm cool with you being with other people until you in a relationship with them. And like, I didn't know that it would hurt me this way. And it was like shit. So like, I would be in a lot of relationships where then I would feel kind of trapped. Like, oh, you lured me in with the potential of being able to love and be in a relationship that I want to be in, and then you closing doors on me
when it actually happened.
Yeah, and then I tried like full monogamy because I've had people tell me like, yo, something's wrong with you if you're okay being with other people, or you're okay seeing your partner be with other people. Like, something is fucking wrong with you. So it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe I need to, try this monogamy thing. And I feel it was so not for me that the relationship that I was in, nothing against the person I was in the relationship with, but like, it just wasn't for me. So that only made the other parts of the relationship like extra stressful, you know? So I do think I'm poly, like to the full sense of the word of loving many.
Mm-hmm.
Like for sure. Like that's who I am.
So the definition, thank you for sharing that.
Yes, from the Latin amore
Mm-hmm.
of love and poly meaning many.
So, you know, when you say it for just the definition itself, then I'm like, yeah, like I love like I'm super poly in that way, and definitely um, love to love people differently, and to express that love differently, and just be like, you know, like I have so many different relationships, you know, familial relationships, friends, um, you know, that I show love to, and so I understand how polyamory and intimate relationships works like beautifully because of those relationships that I have that are not sexually intimate or partnered or significant other. But a lot of what you said, and I think this is what I love that we're having this show, this particular show where it's just you and I, and later Orlando is going to share some of the questions that have come up from others. But the reason why I feel so good about having this conversation with you and I is because we can really share what we want to share, not the questions that people usually interview us on.
Yeah.
And it's so important for people to have a model. I understand why people look at our relationship and they go like, I feel so much relief that like I don't have to be poly in this way, or that I can see that y'all can have a family and, you know, your work. I mean, obviously we're both in porn and do things with other people, but that's not necessarily a part of our
Yeah, that's
how
not
we
a part of the
of our,
poly.
yeah, at all.
Yeah.
And even that aspect of it, how people can see that we can have other sexual relationships with other people and still have a relationship with one another, which defines other types of relationships like swingers and um just open relationships or non-monogamous relationships in general. So you've been my model in for polyamory, and
Awesome.
yeah, you have been, you know, just sort of like being really clear about the difference between having a sexual relationship with someone versus growing to love someone, and you know how it works and how it doesn't work. And there have been instances for us where it's working just fine, and there have been some instances like this doesn't work, and it has either nothing to do with it being a polyamorous relationship, it has to do with the person or how one of us is with that person, or it is a polyamorous aspect, like it's a little difficult to be polyamorous with this particular person. You want me to take her?
No, no, no.
Oh, okay.
She was just realigning and her shirt was coming off.
So, you know, I've learned a lot. I remember 10, 11 years ago taking this test on being poly. And I think it's probably what eventually led to us interviewing you. And I came up as like super poly. Both my brother Victorious and I came up as super poly in the test, which was really funny. And it was like a silly little, I mean, I guess it was a silly quiz or whatever. None of those things can be exact, but it led to me going like, huh, you know, I have always had this idea that my partner, I've always been in monogamous relationships up until this point, and I have like this deep feeling that most people are either bisexual or bi-curious, right? That they, even if that's not their main sexual identity or one that they will hold for their lifetime, they will at least be curious about other genders and sexual representations. So in my mind, I've always had it in my monogamous relationships that this person will likely want to be with someone else other than me just by their general nature, not as an offense to me. So I've always had like this openness in my mind, like he's gonna come out to me and I'm gonna be so supportive.
That shit broke up one of my relationships.
Really?
I had an ex who was like, literally, do you not fuck other women because you don't want to or because I don't want you to? And this was the monogamous relationship I was trying. And I was like, because you don't want me to. You know, and I will say, I mean, I was honest with her, but it really hurt her feelings, you know. And what I've learned through like I had to have that experience. I had to because like to me it was like I should not be in a relationship with someone who really wants to be monogamous because that's not fair to them.
Right. It's not
Because
fair to you either.
even if I'm not, and I wasn't out there cheating on her and doing all this shit, but my mind is still like I feel trapped. I don't feel like I'm able to give fully of myself because I'm in a relationship where I can't fully be myself. So, you know, that was when we kind of decided that we needed to end it. But I do think it's like for somebody like me to be able to love people, it doesn't always involve sex. It's
Right.
like getting to know new people. Sometimes you can love somebody as a friend. Sometimes you can love somebody and y'all have a connection that goes to. It's just like something else, and not being able to have those. Like some people get jealous when you're out with your friends, hanging out. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I think people automatically take polyamory and conflate it with other types of relationships like swinging, like you had said, or whatever, and think that it's about sex, and it's not.
Yeah.
So it's like for people who do have this kind of love, I always try to say to people like, you have different relationships with all your friends or your siblings. You have different relationships. You don't love one of your people's less than the other. You might have known someone longer and y'all have a different connection. Or you might do, like I got certain friends where it's just like, yo, that's my bro. We make music together. But he ain't trying to come hit the gym or go play basketball or some shit
Right.
like that. It's like, I don't do shit other than music. You know what I'm saying? But that don't mean like, oh man, forget that dude. That's not my people's no more.
Right.
That's how I try to explain it to people. And then obviously, you know, if it's dating and things like that, you don't automatically cut off one of your partners because you have somebody else that you care about. You have to find a way to make sure that everybody knows what's going on and there's a balance to it.
So that is where I think I have like commitment issues with polyamory, like committing to the to the orientation of polyamory. It's because and you've seen me have different friendships where sort of like that new friend energy, new relationship energy, where I really like pour into that person. Like I want to learn everything about this person. I want to try them out in all different spaces and places. And it does take a lot of work to make sure that the other people in your life feel important and are prioritized. And I still just do not have the capacity for that. I think about it often, like, you know, I'll start, I won't even say dating, talking to someone new. And I'm like, well, I'm going to have to tell you how my day is every day. I can't do that. Or, oh, I
She can't
definitely,
do that either.
I definitely would like any relationship that I'm in to not necessarily include my children, but I want to be able to talk about them. I want to be able to, you know, celebrate. That's such a huge part of my life. And the thought of like talking to 3 people in a day about like something amazing that, you know, one of our kids or all of our kids did, like that feels so draining. And then to also hear feedback about their families. And so I feel like I've maxed out on the number of people that I can be that level of intimate with just the other people I love in my life. How do you balance that?
Well, honestly, at this point, I am. I don't know what the word is for it. Like, I'm a polyamorous person in a relationship. Our relationship is my only relationship at this time.
That's like that thing that I sent you today or yesterday, where it's like I love my 6 boyfriends or something like that, and it's like the same guy that she does everything with. And I was like watching that, and I'm like, oh, like they work out together, they eat together, they travel together, they work together. I forgot what the other 2 things were. It was like 6 different things that they did together.
I don't know. I think the thing is for me is it's not that I haven't like it's known. I think I'm a well known poly person, but it's like yo, people be stepping with some bullshit.
When you
know,
have
and I feel
everything laid out.
everything is laid out on the table, but I think like I said, a lot of people they like the title or they like the word polyamorous to sound cool or whatever, but they not really about that life.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm just very selective also because just like you said, family and things like that take a lot. So for me also, like porn is not polyamory. So some people are thinking like, okay, well, I like his porn shit. Like I'm trying to fuck. Like, I'm good. But it's like somebody trying to take the time to actually get to know me and talks and like like build on some shit. Like also, I'm not the kind of person that's just gonna throw everything out there the first time we meet. Exactly.
She said,
She said word. So it's like mostly because it's like you could find out mad shit about me online.
Right.
If you do your research, the kind of conversations that I would like to have with somebody that I'm just getting to know isn't for me all about my day. Like I want to know what kind of person you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you got a good day, that's cool, but like, where do you stand on philosophical matters, or what are your interests? What all these other kind of things? And I find that a lot of times when I get to meet somebody new, they go straight to
sex.
yeah, which is like, if that's what I was looking for, cool, but I ain't. So I don't really I don't get to partake. And now this shit sound mad sad for the it's like this polyamory sadness.
Well, no,
But
let me ask you another question before we segue into the second part of our show. Talk to me about the being black and poly. Do you think that makes the pool, I know it makes the pool smaller, but what do you think that we have a lot of growth to do as black folks in different relationship orientations?
yo, that shit just made me think, what the fuck is up with all these little poly cults right now
What?
amongst black folk?
Oh.
There's like a whole bunch of people out there that are trying to like use polyamory as a way to date multiple women, but then not allow those women to date other men. And yeah, like on some Malachi Z York shit out this motherfucker. Like, nah,
Yahweh ben
that
Yahweh.
ain't polyamory either.
Right.
And then on the opposite side of that, a lot of us raised in the church and are really strong on monogamy. So there's that. And then there's just the, like some of the white folk that I know that might be into alternative lifestyles. They look at blackness sometimes as like a notch in a belt. You know what I'm saying? So it's not even, they don't want to date you. They just
They
want
want to fetishize you.
They want to fetishize you. So there's that. So I think it does make it a little bit different as well. But I also do think there are a lot of people within our community who are open to it. It's just like you and I met. We ain't meet early. It took time.
Right.
So I don't feel pressed to have to meet somebody tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Like there's for my family, just like my mom's. My mom's always talk about our Aunt Joe, who didn't get married till she was like 40. She was like the role model, where it's just like, if you really want love and you want some true love, you can't just settle for anything.
Right.
You can't just rush into anything. And I know, biological clocks and all that other kind of shit be ticking, but it's just like, take your time and find the person that or people that truly suit you.
I do feel that it kind of reminds me of like how we started with kink, like being black and kinky. That it took a while to sort of find other black partners that were like allow themselves to explore kink, and like we had to kind of wait for people to get their education up and vet them and all that kind of stuff. And so much of it had to do with the way that we have been presented with, sex, sexuality, relationship styles, like you said.
There's so much we have to unlearn because our sexuality has been told to us by someone else for mad long. But if
Right.
we look at, our history beyond just this country,
Mhm.
polyamory existed, monogamy existed,
Mhm.
all of these things existed.
Well, I have a family story about polyamory, like you just shared your Aunt Joe's story. My so my grandmother shared with me, and I knew that my mother had other siblings that were not from my grandmother in the Philippines. It's like my siblings back home,
Hmm.
but we were never really given like, well, how are your siblings? Like, are this like an older family, and then and then your siblings, but like
Hmm.
they're all this like step ladder ages. Like, like my mom is, let's just say, she was like 9, and then she has a sister that is 10 from yeah and right. um so but we were never really, that was never really talked about, how this other family existed. You just kind of just didn't. So I remember sitting at the table, my grandmother was much older, and she said, like, yeah, I know your grandfather had another family. She lived right next door. Yeah, I know her
Mm.
kids. Our kids, my kids used to go, over there. She said, but I was the wife. And, and so they had like a hierarchy in their polyamory.
But that's more polygamy. I mean, I think that
They
too.
had a
Like,
relationship,
okay,
though.
if they
Yeah.
had a relationship,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
But I mean, that's where I wonder. But were they also openly seeing other people as well?
So I don't believe my grandmother was seeing other people. I mean, after my grandfather died, she did. I don't think that she was seeing other people during that time because she was having 9 kids.
Oh,
Right? I
yeah,
mean,
that's
and then
super busy.
he died when the youngest was a little, a
Hmm.
young child. But they knew, they knew about each other. He had a relationship. His other children knew that was their father, and he had a relationship with their mother and my grandmother.
That's what's up.
um and then all of that kind of like shut down when, when they moved here to the States. Like, he was the poly person in their
Okay.
family, but legally you could only have one wife, and my grandmother was the wife, and so she sort of like prided herself on that hierarchy, which I do see in polyamory,
Hmm.
where there is, and I mean, I even in our relationship, sorry, okay, even in our relationship, there is a part to me that's just like, well, there are certain things that make me feel very comfortable with, like, either one of us dating someone else. It is part of that is feeling secure in our relationship.
Hmm.
Not saying that I don't feel like I need to stand over any person or any of that, but like, I know where I stand in our relationship. I know what's important to me is also important to you. And I think that I do think that that is something that is challenging, especially as black folks, black poly folks, because we feel, if we are made to feel like there's so much stress to be married to one person.
Word.
We are made to feel that there are not enough good black men or good black women, or, like, the pickings are so slim that, if he is showing you attention, then there's no way he can also have time. Like, everything feels so scarce.
To me, it's like there's billions of fucking people in this world,
Hmm. And most of them are of color. Mm.
and whether it's people of color or not, like there's good people out there.
Hmm.
There's good, loving people out there. And the thing is, though, there's a lot of people in totality. So there's also a lot of shitty people out
Hmm.
there.
Hmm.
There's a lot of, I guess, neutral. Like sometimes they good, sometimes they shitty. You know what I'm saying? But it's really like putting yourself in situations to meet people who have similar interests.
Hmm.
And there was just a whole long ass pandemic, so I was not putting myself in no situations.
Right.
And actually, actually it was for some people that I was dating prior to, it did kind of show me their true colors
Hmm.
through that pandemic.
Hmm.
So that's why I don't date them no more. But there's definitely, I think like people come into relationships, and you see this not even just in polyamory, but you see this shit like when people are like, yeah, we're gonna have a threesome, and the person who's the unicorn or the person who's the new person sometimes will get jealous because they don't have that established relationship with either of the people, or like they want that kind of camaraderie with somebody, but you haven't earned it or you haven't built that up. And then also sometimes you'll see from one of the partners who's been in the relationship for the longest, you'll see with the new person, like, oh man, they're spending all their time with this new person, or they're really hype and enthusiastic about this new person because, you know, when you've been in a relationship for a certain amount of time, you do have a certain like flow that y'all are in already. So some new shit,
it's exciting.
It's exciting. It can make a couple waves, you know, and it's funny. Like I always tell this story about like with you, like it wasn't even somebody you were dating. It was a friend, and you talked about her. Y'all was like doing mad shit, like super busy all the time. It's like, yo, I'll be liking to do that shit too. What's up? And then I realized y'all be doing this shit at a time I don't want to do that shit. So then I was like, fuck, I'm glad you got somebody to do some shit early as hell with, because now I could sleep later. You know what I'm saying? So but sometimes it takes you getting over that initial moment. Because like, what is it? Everybody always, whenever they ask us about polyamory, it's always, the first question is always, how do you not get jealous?
Yeah.
You know, and not realizing that jealousy is a natural human emotion that's going to come from all types of shit. You get jealous of people you don't even know.
Yeah.
You get jealous of things that you aren't even really interested in. When you break the shit down, you be like, why? I don't even give a fuck about that. Why am I jealous about that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's just like a natural human emotion that you have to recognize within yourself and work through. And I think that when it comes to being poly and stepping into these new relationships with new people, the thing I love the most about poly, and this also is something I love about the BDSM and the kink world, is like we have to set boundaries.
Right.
We have to speak on consent. We have to speak on likes and dislikes and hard limits and desires. And if we can do all of that, if we can get through that conversation, then chances are like, okay, after all that shit is laid out on the table and you still like, okay, I see your shit, you see my shit, I'm still interested. Now we can start working through those other things. But it's when people who just kind of like jump in or want to just jump in and they're like, I want to be your other poly lover, or I want to be your sub, or I want to be your other baby moms, or whatever the shit. Like you jumping into it with this expectation when it really is like, you ain't even asking me what I'm looking for, or what I'm into. You know what I'm saying? And I think that could work not even just for poly relationships. That could work for monogamish, or whatever other kind of relationships there are.
Blackish.
I think about when we were in Kenya and we went to the village, and dude had they had all the houses, and this is a polygamy situation, but also poly-ish.
Yeah.
But it was like all the wives had their houses next to each other, all within the same compound.
They built the house
and they
for the
built
new
the
wife.
house for the new wife.
See, that's
that,
beautiful.
and I think like that kind of shit, it does build a certain amount of camaraderie. But like if you're coming into the relationship competitive, like, oh, I'm gonna knock this chick out the box, or I'm gonna knock this dude out the box, or I'm gonna do this better than somebody, like, it's not a competition. Love is not about competition. Love is about sharing. If you break down what love should be, right? So if you come into it like that, you'll be a better poly person.
I could live in that.
Off my soapbox.
I love you on your soapbox. I could live in that community, that relationship style community.
Well, we gotta meet somebody worth building a house for, because them slim pickings you talking about.
I know, but
Nah,
that to me, it made sense. Their boundaries were really clear. That he would visit each wife, you know, like they had a schedule, and the other wives would watch the children so that you could actually have alone time with your partner.
Word.
And
That
it's
is
like,
needed.
that's so beautiful. And then it's like, when you leave my house, I know where you're going. Like, and if something goes down, I don't have to put all my needs on you. We have these other people who have a vested interest in our family, you know, succeeding, and you get a house with the thing. That's dope. All right. Now that we have had a chance to just sort of flesh out and just have a conversation, which we do from time to time, about what poly means to us at the time and how we're experiencing our poly relationship, I would love to open up the floor for some of the questions that came in the other night on King's Live.
We got a couple good ones.
Yeah. Orlando, are you up to sharing what they are and any that maybe you have from listening in?
Well, before I share, I wanted to say that this is like a wonderful convo because like I was even learning things, and I was like, in this convo, I was learning that I can't be poly, but in a good way. Because I feel like as like Black people, and Black people now that we're experiencing like these type of different relationships, we're branching out, but we're trying to be so open with it because we were so repressed for so long that we're not realizing that we can actually be not okay with certain things.
Word. For real.
Yes, yes.
It's all about being honest with yourself and then being honest with your partner, whatever type of relationship you in.
Orlando, I know you don't have the capacity to be spreading all that
Oh
love.
no,
You like me.
no, not at all.
You're a receiver
No.
of love, aren't you?
Yeah, bring it here, bring it home.
Yeah, bring it home. Game recognized game. I see you.
But yes, so we did have one question from Alyssa. So my question is that I am poly, their age is 29, but my husband, age 31, isn't. And we have been together for 8 years with one son. When we started dating, I told him I was poly and he accepted it. Then halfway through, he made up some rules about how I've only got to date women and no men because he's no cuck. Now, since we got married, he's very territorial and won't let me do anything. How can I try to introduce the topic again? Because I've started entertaining some other prospects and I feel trapped enough to leave my marriage altogether. Some advice would be great. Thank you.
Ooh. Well, let me just say this. It does not make you a cuck if you are in an open polyamorous relationship.
Can you break down what a cuck is so that way that hopefully this person's partner or this person can bring that definition back home?
Yeah, a cuck is someone whose wife sleeps with other men, but it is, in some cases, it's not consensual for the man that their wife does it. They know about it, but they don't do anything about it. Another way is if it is consensual between both and the man is turned on by the woman being with other people, and they'll do things like clean up or talk about it or be in chastity or all kinds. Like, cuck has changed a little bit throughout the years with its like genre of porn. But like back in the old English version of the shit, it was kind of like your wife cheating on you, you know about it, you don't do nothing about it. Cheating is the thing that is highlighted. You did. In this case, if you are openly having an open consensual relationship, you are not a cuck.
Right. In hearing this person's question or situation in which you're asking for advice, I take the poly part aside for a second, and I'm hyper focused on the control.
Yeah.
You know, I do believe that over time you can change your mind, right? Mm-hmm. Just like Orlando said, something that you like and are open to, you can feel very differently about.
Sure.
And so it sounds like the conditions of the marriage have changed. And really that's what needs to be stated. And two adults need to say that if these are the new conditions, can I be in this marriage anymore? Mm-hmm. But this idea of like holding this over her head, or you can only be with this type of person and not this type of person, and the reason for it is not understanding the definition of a word, that doesn't seem fair to this person asking the question. It's like, you can't limit me based on your ignorance.
That happened to me before.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was in relationships with a few people that was like all throwing the words out there in the beginning. And Shorty was like, yeah. I like I like women, so I can date women. But that's equal to if for me she was like, you can't date other women because you dating me. But if you want, you can date men. I was like, I'm not interested in men.
Mm-hmm.
So how's that gonna work?
Right. She's like, that's
You
how
gotta
it's
pick
gonna
up
work.
a new hobby. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit. So it's like one of those kind of situations where it's like you're trying to control what I'm into.
Mm-hmm.
So how this
Right.
work now? You know? So it's like in that kind of situation, I do think it's unfortunate, and I hate it when people have these questions for us where it winds up being like, yo, you need to question your relationship. You know what I'm saying? But
that's
you shouldn't be in any relationship where you can't be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
To
Mm-hmm.
me, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and if you feel trapped, if you feel
Mm-hmm.
like if you are yourself, then there could be some kind of crazy consequences
Right.
for the shit, you know?
And I also think that raising your situation, maybe even exactly how you posed it to us, your partner is really the one that needs to make a decision. Like you're
Yeah.
being honest with who you are, what works for you, what you want, what you're willing to leave your marriage for. And so you're putting everything on the table, and it's really up to your husband to decide if he can reconsider those terms. And I feel like you and I have been not to that extreme, but where it's like, this is who I am. This is still who I am. This is what I want. Um, these are the areas that I'm willing to like to negotiate. Basically, like this is the wiggle room around my boundaries. And if that doesn't work for you, then how can we still have a relationship? And we both have had to like, okay, here's the areas that I would like to see wiggled for now. Or I recall saying, well, let's try this for a little longer and see if I'm having, like, I know for me, am I just having a negative response right now? Is it that first wave of emotions that come over, that like new relationship energy or that jealousy, and it'll settle over time? Or am I going to feel like this in 6 months? Then I don't want to live like this.
And sometimes it's the person.
Yeah, not the relationship style.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's the other person and the shit that they bring into the relationship. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it might not even be that it's a bad person. It could just be they got a drama that they bring with them, and you catch them at the wrong time, or whatever the case being. But it's still, to me, it really does boil down to, just as you said, y'all both need to be honest with one another. You know, she needs to be able to be herself. He needs to be honest about what he can and cannot live with and deal with. And sometimes, like, not all relationships have to last forever.
Absolutely.
And or even the relationship in the capacity it's in. Because if y'all got a kid together, then hopefully y'all have a relationship forever, raising that child. But maybe the romantic side of things might have to calm down.
For sure. There another question, Orlando?
No, there's only one.
These people don't know how to ask questions.
Royal Fetish.
So I says to the guy, there's no way that a gerbil can get up there.
No, there is.
I don't know. I haven't heard from Richard Gere in years.
But you have to look. But everybody that's listening has to look up the scientific nightmare that they are doing with these Syrian hamsters.
Oh, the Syrian super hamsters. That shit is wild, yo.
Don't say too much.
That shit is wild.
Y'all just look it up. Funding these evil scientists.
Yo, they be having too much money and too much time on their hands.
Yeah, but somehow we don't have enough of either. Orlando. Why do I keep looking like he's over there? Orlando.
We need to have him here via satellite, just over there on like a flat
He
screen.
definitely got to be over there.
Hologram. Got a hologram me in.
Don't give Jasmine consent to a hologram.
It's too late. He just did.
Oh,
You
man.
gonna be long gone podcasting. I'm gonna have your ass working. I've already got hologram rights on anybody.
She gonna have you podcasting at Coachella, son. Watch out.
Long live Orlando over there. You had a question for us?
Yeah, so even with me not real, well, knowing that I can't like be poly or I might not have the capacity for it, even in my non-monogamy, I still sometimes feel monogamous, or I feel like I get feelings of like hints of jealousy, but it's like I don't really feel jealous, but I feel something. So, and I feel like it comes from a bunch of having to unlearn how I've been raised. Because I tell my girl all the time, like, if you want me to tell you all the times that like I'm jealous, I'm like, it's all the time. But but it's she's like, why? And I was like, because I'm raised to be jealous in this capacity. I'm supposed to be only exclusive. So it's like, what is like unlearning to be poly even look like? Or is just like natural already?
Unlearning to be monogamous or jealous. I just want to make
Or like unlearning to just like be comfortable in a poly relationship. Like I feel like you have to overcome those what is supposed to be seen as like jealousy or exclusivity and stuff like that.
I can tell you a lot about that, because I mean, I'm always unlearning, and part of that is actually figuring out, what have you learned? Where does this come from? Who taught it to you? Why was it taught to you? Does it pertain to this situation? A lot of the feelings that I used to have and sometimes still do are related to cheating, but that's not relevant in this relationship. I'll be like, he over there with her. Okay, how do you know that? Because he told you. Oh. Oh, okay.
Now what?
Now what? Okay, so what? Okay, so now that you know that, what is bothering you? And a lot of times it's like, because I want to be over there, and then even that is like, well, why didn't you say it? Because I don't really want to be over there. I just want him to be with me right now, so it's really examining your own thoughts and feelings and challenging them sometimes. Sometimes it is like, because I don't want to be alone right now and I want him to be here. I remember there was a time you had went out with someone and you like missed a cue, like a social cue. I was putting something out there that you were just like excited to go be out with someone. And after I was like, but you didn't realize that I did it, and you were like, no, you didn't say that. And I was like, okay, I could have just said, and you told me, you were like, if you wanted me to stay home with you, you could have just said that. So I think part of unlearning is recognizing what you're feeling, why you're feeling it, and is it relevant to this situation? You're not being cheated on, so those feelings are not relative, don't pertain here. The other piece that I've had to sort of reckon with is being supportive, and like, how can I support my partner? Is that my goal? My goal really is not to be like you were saying, like, I don't want a poly sticker or award or anything like that. But I do want a supportive partner. I want that award. And so, like, how can I be that in this situation? And do I need to override some negative emotions that are not relevant to this situation to be supportive? And I tested that shit, or was tested with that, when you had a breakup in a poly relationship. And I wanted to be like, fuck that hoe, bang on it every time she call. I'm glad it's over, done. But that's not supportive. That was like, I feel like somebody disrespected someone I love and I want to be mad.
Yeah.
But to be supportive was to allow you to talk about like how that shit hurt. And to also have in my mind, like, you know what? Some people get back together after they've been hurt. And how are you going to be supportive if that happens? And so to me, those are ways that I've challenged those emotions, is like acknowledging that they exist, and it is hard. It's also one of the other thing is recognizing that I can change how I feel. So, Orlando, like you were saying, I feel jealous all the time. Like, you actually have more control over those feelings than we are really given credit for as humans. You know, you can say, I don't want to feel jealous. I actually want to celebrate this situation. And you can do that. It does take a lot of work. Y'all be talking about manifesting and meditating, but I don't see nobody doing that shit.
I think that's real. I think from being the partner in that situation, the part that you have to learn to also unlearn in a way is, like, we've all been raised in this way. So how can I, like, like you heard me say a million times, be yourself, be yourself, be yourself, be yourself. And I do believe in being yourself unapologetically, but at the same time, also with your partner, since you're in a relationship, you need to be yourself and explain who the fuck you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, I find this in all relationships, not just poly ones. Like, when people ask for relationship advice on some monogamous shit too, it's always like, why don't my partner know X, Y, and Z about me? Like, how the fuck would they if you didn't tell them?
You just found out.
Word, like, you just discovered this shit about yourself, and your partner is supposed to be Miss Cleo and know all this shit about your ass.
Miss Cleo didn't know nothing.
Word, be Professor Xavier out this bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta let somebody know, like, yo, this is, and this will even help your friendships, your relationships with your family. Like, this is how I am. This is how I'm feeling. Like, I think about with our kids. We talk to our kids like, how you feeling today? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And most people are like that with their kids because you're open to getting to know this kid. But it'd be like with adults, you're like, for some reason we forget that this person now has, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 years of existence on earth, full of experiences and baggage and good shit, bad shit. And we're expecting them to just know us, and we're expecting to just know them. So it's like, the more we can have those kind of conversations to fully know, and don't expect a person to ask you, because people don't know what to ask you about what you're thinking about at that exact moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, actually tell them, like, relationship wise, or how I'm feeling about this new person, or this, that, and the other, because then that'll reassure them about what you about to go out and do.
Right.
And for me, in our relationship, it was initially hard for me to be like, yo, I like this person, or I'm interested in this person, because I had been in so many bad relationships where I was accused of sleeping with people that I wasn't even interested in. It'd just be like, oh, you going to record with that bitch? Like, she got a name, and I'm not interested in her in that way. Like, we about to make music, or that's my homie, or whatever the fuck. So it's like, I was always like feeling like, not because of you, but because of past relationships, that I'm walking on this very thin ice. And if I say the wrong thing, jealousy is going to destroy our entire relationship. When it's really like, yo, I like this person for X, Y, and Z. And then sometimes it would be something where you would be like, oh, that's dope, because I ain't into that shit at all. So then it's like, oh, okay, well, she kind of fulfills a certain slot in the life that, I want to live in my totality, that now I can, because I have someone to talk about some shit with that you weren't interested in. And I think that part of polyamory is great, because it's like, when your partner does find somebody that y'all are into some shit that you are not, it's like, you don't have to pretend to be interested in, like, obviously we're all going to be in a different shit. So if they're sharing something with you, like, you should be sharing attentive present, and shit like that. But you don't have to, like, fully pretend like you give a damn about any of the Real Housewife episodes, because now you don't have to watch that show no more.
You get some time back in your life. That was like when you went on a I don't know how to say it wasn't an official date. It was like we had finished shooting and you and Milo, Sky, were like talking about shoes
Yeah.
and like video games and songs and shit. And I was just like, oh my God, y'all are on a date. I'm going to bed. Because you were talking like the 5411s and the J's and and I was just like, oh my God, he had someone to talk about sneakers. Wait, please keep talking to him.
Word.
That was cool.
Yeah, and I think that place will definitely help your jealousy. Unless your jealousy is rooted in a place where it's like, I don't know, like you're Hulk and you have to be angry all the time in order to maintain your superpowers and shit.
Oh man. Well, I hope that helped you, Orlando.
Thank you, 757.
All right, cool. So, there's so much that we can delve into, but it was nice to just really just, I mean, we're really like welcoming y'all into our living room chats.
Word. And if you want to know more about polyamorous relationships, go fuck with my song Poly Sutra. Go watch our scene Poly Sutra.
After telling these people it's not all about sex.
Yeah, but they want to know about the sex side too.
Yeah.
Nah, but definitely, if you are interested in polyamory and non-monogamous relationships and ethical non-monogamy, definitely, look the shit up.
Yeah, start there.
Look the shit up. I mean, a lot of people will reference the book, The Ethical Slut. I think it is a really good place to start. And you got any books to add on to that?
I'll add them back in later because there are some that are a little bit more geared towards Black folk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I think so we'll get them to Orlando so that they can see the links and yeah.
That's what it is.
Mm-hmm. So where can they see other episodes like this one?
Yo, get on all streaming platforms and find us there.
Can you be more specific?
Specifically, well, definitely go to Instagram, Royal Fetish Radio.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely go to Twitter, Royal Fet Radio, and YouTube, Royal Fetish Radio.
Yes.
The Real King Noir on Instagram.
And Jet Set Jasmine on all the things.
Go to our OnlyFans.
Oh,
go to
yeah.
royalfetishxxx.com.
Go to our
KingNoirXXX.com.
Go to our centerfold.
Google that shit on your boss's computer when you're at work.
And make sure you put XXX in capital letters.
But real talk, it's always good building with y'all.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Royal Fetish Radio, Porn and Politics. We talk about sex before and after dark.
Mm-hmm. Whenever you can get it in.
Royal Fetish.